Welcome to Behind the Bloom podcast. I'm Jay Schwanke, the flower expert, fourth-generation florist, and your guide to living a life in bloom. You might know me from the PBS show Jay Schwanke's Life in Bloom, or from my workshops, books, or appearances. But here, on this podcast, we're getting even more personal.
And I'm RJ Pohl, producer and co-host of the Behind the Bloom podcast. I've been a fan of Jay's for years, and I'm so thrilled to be joining him on this journey to dive deeper into Jay's life in bloom.
And that's what this podcast is all about, digging deeper into life in bloom. Here, I'll be sharing not just tips and techniques for arranging flowers, but the stories behind the episodes of Life in Bloom, and stories from my flower life. Things I've never really had the chance to share on television. We'll talk about the episodes and how they came to be, what inspired them, the behind-the-scenes fun, and even a few mishaps that we somehow managed to make look graceful on camera. There's a philosophy behind Life in Bloom, and it's not just about flower design. It's about joy, health and wellness, empowerment and creativity, and yes, finding a connection to nature and to each other every day with flowers. My hope is that this podcast becomes a space where we can slow down together, where you can listen while arranging flowers, or maybe while you're out for a walk, or just taking a break with a cup of tea. I want it to feel like a friendly visit with a special friend, where we both leave feeling a little lighter, a little more inspired, and maybe with a new idea to try. Thank you for joining me. I'm so glad you're here with us, Behind the Bloom. This week on Behind the Bloom podcast, I'm taking you all the way back to the very beginning, Life in Bloom, episode 101. We'll revisit where it all started, the inspiration, the creation, and the mission behind the show. What does it really mean to live a life in bloom? I'll share some behind-the-scenes stories from that very first day of filming, how we pulled the crew together and found the perfect location, and how my producer, Kelly, and I collaborated to bring this vision to life. We'll also revisit single flower arrangements. I'll tell you why I wanted that to be the very first project we featured on the show. Then it's on to featured flower, the Gerbera Daisy. I'll explain why this bright, cheerful bloom was the perfect way to kick things off, the beautiful variety of colors it comes in, and some of the symbolism behind those vibrant petals. Of course, we'll shake things up with a flower cocktail hour. I'll tell you how the hibiscus mojito became our first signature drink, and I'll even let you in on where I find all those fabulous vintage glasses we use. Want the full recipe? You can grab it over at ubloom.com. We'll also talk about the Recipes in Bloom segment with my very first Life in Bloom guest, Kim Carson. I'll share a story from the very first Flower Crown segment and the story behind it. There's a lot packed into this episode. I can't wait to share it with you. Let's go behind the bloom.
All right, welcome back, everyone, to Behind the Bloom podcast. We're excited to have everybody back. Jay, nice to see you.
Good to see you as well.
So this episode's going to be a little bit different than the first one. This is our first companion episode, so we're excited. We just rewatched the very first episode of Life in Bloom, and so we're just going to kind of talk about kind of that episode, and hopefully everyone can go back and rewatch it and kind of relive some of these moments as we talk about them.
Absolutely. There's so many stories that go with these, and it's just so great. This is a really great opportunity. So thank you, RJ, for giving me this idea to do this and helping me along with it. So I appreciate it.
Well, I'm so excited to talk with you about them because it's so much fun to watch, and I know there's so much that you don't get to tell because you have to squeeze so much into an episode. So there's a lot that you are excited to talk about. So I guess this very first episode, I'm just kind of curious, like, how was that put together? We talked a little bit about how you got into television, but having your own show, your very first episode, what went into that?
It's the pilot, and that's very daunting because everybody's like, oh, the pilot, and you're like, yeah. And I think it was, number one, I wanted to explain my mission to everyone. So it was like, what is a life in bloom? What does that mean? And I didn't want it to be daunting either. I wanted it to be like, oh, wait, a life in bloom. I kind of like this idea. I can do that. It's not hard. That's why the first one centers around our home. So this episode, we're in our house. We are in the house that we live in. And we started calling it the Flower House or the Bloom House, and there's a great lady in Detroit who did an art exhibit one time called a Bloom House, where in Detroit she went to the slums and she got a house, just a house that was going to be torn down, and then florists went in and did installations. It was very cool.
Oh,
But
cool.
it's our home. It's full of flowers. That's true. But it's still our home, and it's just like, how do I incorporate flowers in here? And I just got a letter today from a woman who said, "Thank you for reassuring me that even pictures of flowers can have the same health and wellness benefits." And it's true. Looking at a pillow that has a flower pattern or looking at a picture on your wall makes us feel easier, makes us feel less stressed, makes us more at ease. Um, those pictures will cause less arguments. They will make us feel better when we're feeling ill. It's all of that, because sometimes this lady said, she's from New York, so much like you being in Chicago. She said, I don't have I don't have a garden. I don't have any plants, so I have to live vicariously through buying flowers and bringing them into my house, or having them incorporated into my in my interiors and my lifestyle. And so it was like, how do I easily bring flowers in my life? And I wanted it to include friends. I wanted it to include recipes, because that was important to us. We we lean hard into being a lifestyle show because, interestingly enough, on public television, there's a place that garden shows go.
Oh.
And lifestyle shows get much more latitude. While we like the garden time, I would also like to be in prime time, or I would also like to be in an afternoon, or I would also like to follow kids programming, or I'd like to be adjacent to cooking. So lifestyle shows that have all those elements in them have that. And so we were emphatic about it being a lifestyle show. I'm also very emphatic about it's not a garden show. We do a little bit of gardening, but I'm a garden hobbyist. I can't tell you where your hydrangea should go in your yard. I have no idea. I can't tell you how to get rid of mealybugs. Don't know. But I can tell you how to arrange flowers, and that's what it's about. So yeah. Yeah. So
That's
that's part of
awesome.
it. Yeah. 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 So yeah, it was about giving you an opportunity to feel like, well, what is a life in bloom? What's this mean? What's the show going to be about? Yeah.
Was it daunting bringing a crew into your house and all of a sudden you have to think about how everything looks and where everything's gonna fit and
Oh, the cleaning kills me. We don't do it anymore. We only do it on occasion, but only not very much anymore, because you have to clean.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I'm not my grandmother had a sign in her house that said, "My house is clean enough to be healthy and dirty enough to be happy." Yes. That is my theory as well. So you have to clean everything and wipe everything. And I cook with butter and I make bacon. And so there's grease and there's stuff like that. I do all that stuff. So being in the kitchen, 9 people
Wow.
and we started off with 3 cameras. Later on, we added a 4th, then we had an apparatus that was built to hang a camera over the kitchen.
Oh, cool.
And when we started this, it was before LED lighting. So that kitchen is hot. And I would crank my air conditioner down. So what I did was I invested in a commercial air conditioner for my home.
Oh, okay.
I can get it down to 58 degrees in here.
Wow.
I mean, because once I start to sweat, the makeup starts to come off, and I'm one of those people, when I start sweating, I don't stop.
Oh, okay.
And years ago, when we started our web-based show, we were in a commercial kitchen. We'd rented a commercial kitchen. It did not have air conditioning. And because I was sweating so severely, they were strapping packs of ice on my back under my
Oh,
shirt to
no.
try and cool me down. And it was just running off my face. And so now when we rent a private home. Fabulous woman. Her name is Kathy Glinski, and she allows us to shoot in her kitchen. And she rented to us during the pandemic because we could socially distance in her beautiful, lovely big kitchen. And so we continue to go back there because she lets us, because I don't have to come back in my house. I don't have to clean. I don't have to have 9 people in here. Then we also use one of those portable air conditioners, and we can get that down to 60 too. So it's really helpful to do that. And usually she checks out and goes somewhere for vacation for a week while we're there,
Oh.
because she's always like, "It is so cold in my house." We're like, "I know.
It's unlivable.
It's true. Yeah. And I mean, I get it, but I am also that person who will wear shorts into November. I am I believe that you can always get warmer. You cannot always get colder.
Okay. Yeah.
And so, yeah, and when you set up in your house, you have all of those things there and they're marked and the cameras stay there. So not only when the crew leaves, you also have to kind of you got to work around it. And so it's
Mm,
hard to live in a kitchen or live in a home where people are filming all the time.
okay.
And it's funny when we get together, hosts of shows at American Public Television at our fall marketplace, we all talk about it. Nick Stellino and I were like, he was like, do you film in your house? I see your pictures. And I was just like, yeah. And he goes, oh, don't you hate it? And I was just like, yeah. And like they cut holes in his ceiling.
Oh my gosh.
And then P. Allen Smith was brilliant. He built his home so the lighting is it's in the structure.
Oh,
So
cool.
there's switches that they just turn on and then the lighting is there. And so they don't have to drag in all the lighting, which was brilliant. So if I ever build a house, I'll think about that.
Was it just the first season then that you shot?
No, we shot there for a couple seasons.
Okay.
Well, it would have been till the pandemic, I think. So then maybe just 2 seasons. Yeah,
Okay.
2 seasons, I think. Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
because season 3 is pandemic season. So yeah,
Okay.
no,
Okay.
which we never refer to in season 3
Oh,
because
yeah.
we were public television said don't refer to the pandemic, and we were like
Oh.
okay. And so it's funny now when people talk about the pandemic, I almost get nervous. I'm like, we're not supposed to talk about that.
Oh, yeah.
To keep a show evergreen, you don't want to leave a timeline stamp on it. So
Okay.
that's kind of what, happens.
That makes sense. I feel like sometimes I'll watch a show now and see somebody in a mask and it takes you back to that time in your life and you're like, it does add this stress just to see that. So I understand the need to want to keep everything kind of evergreen.
You are absolutely right. So, we do a behind the bloom videos on our website as well. If you look at the behind the bloom videos, you'll notice all the men have masks
Okay.
when they're sneaking behind the scenes in the little opening trailer. We're
Okay.
going to go with me behind the bloom, and the guys all behind me have masks. And I remember, so the first filming we did with that, we came back because we had also filmed stuff for ubloom.com at the same time. And so we had people back, and I was the only one that, wasn't going to have a mask on because I was on the set. And so there's 4 camera people and they're all right there, and you have to walk past them to get off the set and everything, and we were in there for one day. And then that night, one of the cameramen called in and said, I'm sick. I'm going down. And I was like, oh my God, go get tested. And Kelly said, I walked around in a circle for like 10 minutes and I was just like, I had to walk past him. What's going to happen? And I hadn't had COVID yet. So I was just like, oh my God, what's going to happen? What would,
Oh.
and you just didn't know. But he had a little kid and he had just had a cold and got the flu from his kid. So he didn't have COVID, but yeah, it's all
Okay.
good. But yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, no, I understand the whole realness of, throwing you back in that time. So it's true.
Yeah. Well, so one of the things about your show, just kind of going through in order, I love your quotes at the beginning. And so I was just kind of curious. You started this one with a Georgia O'Keeffe quote that I felt like was so fitting. And I just wanted to know, like, kind of what led you to want to like start incorporating these quotes. I love that you kick it off with that and it like sets the tone for the whole show in such a wonderful way.
I think if I remember correctly, that was Kelly's idea, or I can't really recall, but I felt like quoting a quote about flowers sets the tone. And I love something that sets the tone. And now it's my favorite part is picking out those quotes because Kelly will round them up for me.
Okay.
And then he'll be like, which one of these do you like? And sometimes there's 3 or 4 that are so good. And you may notice in later seasons that I'll say another quote during the show because they're just as good. But
Oh,
the Georgia O'Keeffe one, I mean, I just love Georgia O'Keeffe and the fact of, making a flower unavoidable is I painted them big because you had to look at them. And I think that's wonderful. Yeah,
oh,
I think that's wonderful.
that's so cool.
It just sets it helps add credibility, I think, too, at the same time. But I think it sets the mood for everyone to know
Yeah.
where we're gonna go that day. So yeah.
That's awesome. So then single flower arrangements is the first episode.
Correct. Because I felt like I can't dive in and make these grand, elaborate arrangements because people are going to be like, I can't do this,
Yeah.
and I wanted it to be easy and realize that an arrangement can be a single flower. I love that ashtray with the 2
Yes.
chopsticks and the Gerber daisies. And
Yeah.
it's It's so easy to do, and it's things that so I collect mid-century modern stuff, and an ashtray, I was just like, "That's a flower vase." An ashtray is a flower vase to me, and so just laying those two chopsticks where the cigarettes would go, and then balancing that little Gerber on there so that it doesn't sit down in the water and won't rot is perfect. I also love that Protea one too, the Protea one that, we put in the bedroom, and it's just a cylinder with rocks, and then I stuck the big Banksia Protea down inside there. But it's easy, and I think it's empowering to feel like you don't need a whole bunch of flowers, you can have 1. You can have 1. Maybe a friend gives you a rose out of their garden. 1 flower. Put it where you can smell it, where you can see it, where you can engage with it. As a kid, when I grew up, my dad always wore red carnation, and so did my grandpa. And at the end of the day, my dad would pull it out of his lapel, and he would give it a cut and put it in a drinking glass on the kitchen sink. That's like a spot for me to think of flowers always, is there was always a red carnation on the kitchen sink. So I always have flowers at the kitchen sink because that's the place in my mind where they belong.
I love just like the different creative things that you find to put the flowers in. I feel like that like it is very like to just go to a single flower, take someone like me who's not like an expert to be like, "Oh, you could totally do this." And then you kind of start looking at the things you have around your house differently. Like you had that little rock where you could put some in, and then I mean, the ashtray, it's all like so cool, and it just kind of makes you look at the items you have around your house in like a different light. So I thought that was a really cool way to open it all up.
Yeah, I mean, can you imagine? I found that rock on a beach, and I just thought it must have sat somewhere for hundreds of years with water dripping on it to make those little holes, and then it got washed up on a beach somewhere. So I was like, "Yeah, I'm taking that home, and I'm gonna open it up and put a couple flowers in there." And it's just it's kind of a reminder that nature's always working in our favor
Yeah. Yeah.
to
I
make
love
sure
that.
we enjoy flowers. Yeah.
So after single flower arrangements, you also get into like the tools, like the proper tools that you need. And I loved that's another thing that I loved about the first episode was just a lot of what you're doing is taking kind of this flower arranging and making it not intimidating. And I feel like by kind of starting out, like you can just use these tools, it can make someone who doesn't know what they're doing or have any experience be like, oh, I can just use this and that and kind of try to make something myself.
In the flower industry, we all use these locking blade everywhere I sit. There's a locking blade Swiss Army knife. They're in every drawer everywhere here, but I mean, that's what it looks like, and this can be really dangerous and maybe a little bit intimidating, and so I felt like we have to be careful. I did a hands-on class one time with a gentleman, my friend Chuck Johnson, and he was the representative for the company that was sponsoring me for this hands-on training I was doing, and we were making a sympathy arrangement with big gladiolas. And this lady had never used a locking blade knife. And she picked up her first gladiola and she cut it like this
Oh
and
no.
ran it down the inside of her arm. And luckily, Chuck Johnson was in Vietnam and was in triage. And he took that lady to the emergency room after he taped her up, and she got 47 stitches in her arm.
Oh my gosh.
So that's how graphic that always was to me, and it's like, "No, we need to use pruners and we need to use bypass cutters." And a bypass cutter is probably the most friendly and easiest thing for you to do. It's probably the least dangerous. Everyone always asks me, I use the Dram Color Point bypass cutter and the compact pruner. Those are the two tools that I use, and they come in 6 different colors. The Dram Corporation, you can go on, you can see them online, but you can buy them at independent garden centers all across the country or online. And they're great. And you'll notice that still to this day, I have a set of 6 of each of them, each one of the colors of color points. So I try and coordinate my tools to my arrangement
Oh.
because that's what I do. But yeah, I think it's important for us to think about those and cutting at an angle and never use the scissors. Never, never, never use the scissors. A scissors is made to bind paper or ribbon and cut it exactly. And when you do that to the vascular system of a flower, you squish it. And so it's like squishing a straw when you're trying to suck up a shake. It doesn't work, right? So if you use a bypass cutter, it cuts it evenly and it cuts it quickly because the blade bypasses the other blade. And
Okay.
it's different than cutting with a scissors. A scissors you have pressure from the way that you hold it.
Oh,
So,
interesting.
yeah, so scissors is not a good idea. Save the scissors for paper and ribbon. And don't use my ribbon scissors to cut wire. Thank you. So, yeah,
Okay.
so one of those things. Yeah. Support the joy of flowers. The Life in Bloom Foundation is a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to flower education and inspiring a love of flowers in everyone. The foundation helps fund the production of Jay Schwanke's Life in Bloom on public television, making it possible for viewers across the country to enjoy the beauty and benefits of flowers. The foundation also provides free flower education to high schools, colleges, and floriculture programs through ubloom.com, helping students and future florists bloom in their own careers. Your donation in any amount makes a difference. Plus, all contributions are 100% tax deductible. If you'd like to help us continue sharing the power of flowers, visit the lifeinbloomfoundation.org to donate today. Thank you for your support.
The featured flower, so Gerbera daisies.
So that was pretty much a given, because Gerbera daisies make everybody happy. And at that point in time, 7 years ago, Gerbera daisies were probably one of the most popular flowers ever. They still are. We went to a flower farm that's going to be in season 8. We were in a greenhouse with 2 million Gerbera plants.
Oh
You
my
could
gosh.
not see the other end of it. If anybody who watched our marathon in July of this year, 2025 on Create TV, we did the interstitials, the little pieces in between that told you what was happening with the marathon. We filmed them in that greenhouse. But Gerbera daisies are amazing and everyone loves them, and they're beautiful and they last a long time. And yeah, they're one of the few flowers that does not benefit from flower food. So they benefit more from clean water.
Okay.
So if you put your Gerbera in just plain water, there is a thing you can do. There's a product called a CVBN tablet from our friends at Kreisel. You can get the CVBN tablet or Gerbera tablet on their website at kreiselflowerfood.com. But it's like a time-released chlorine, like you would put in your swimming pool.
Oh.
And it keeps the water ultra clear. And Gerbera have fuzzy stems. The stems are fuzzy. They got a little bit of fuzz on them. And that fuzz underwater degrades very quickly, especially when you use warm water. So always use cold water. At that point, then it dirties the water quickly. And then that will make the Gerbera bend its head. So these CBVN tablets, I call them Viagra for Gerberas because that makes your Gerbera, when the water is clean and clear and has no bacteria in it, the Gerbera stem is very, very sturdy and very strong, and the face of the flower will face upwards.
Oh.
And so, it makes your Gerbera straight and strong and stiff. And if you don't,
Viagra.
hence the Viagra. But it does not work that way in humans. It's just for this. But one of those little tablets will last 3 days in a vase.
Oh, cool.
And so it's just, and people will say, sometimes when you bring home Gerberas too, their heads might be a little floppy. And so if your heads are a little floppy, then cut them, put them in cold water with one of those tablets, and they'll straighten right up.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So and Gerberas, let's see, everybody always asks, what's the meaning of Gerberas? And it is purity, strength, and innocence.
Oh,
I
love that.
There's many, there's so many books that have been written about the meanings of flowers. And so we use them occasionally, but there's some flowers that are unexpected, like hydrangea means deceit, which is interesting, and everybody loves hydrangeas. So there's other ones about hydrangeas, and you usually use those, but innocence or purity or strength, that's a good thing for a Gerbera daisy. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. And then you did your first flower cocktail hour too in this episode. Another staple to the show.
Correct. Yeah.
I always wondered, Jay, do you always film that last when you're shooting, or do you have a cocktail midday sometimes?
I do. What's very funny is we learned a long time ago, we used to do recipe day. So we would film all of the cocktails in the morning and then all of the recipes in the afternoon. I can't do that.
Oh, yeah.
because that's too many cocktails.
I bet.
And so, yeah, so now we, and it's one of those things. But like sometimes I'm really sad because I try and only take one or the sips you see on camera. And then if I have a guest, they might say, "Can I drink it?" And you say, "Yeah, and you can drink my other one too if you want to." And they will go ahead and go drink them, which is fine. But I can't because we're going to keep working. We have a long schedule, usually about 12 to 14 segments a day when we're filming. So once I do that, I got to get it going. So it's just kind of, and in that case, with that one, we set it up. We set it up, or no, it was at the kitchen counter. So, you know, that was okay. We were all set for it. But sometimes if we set them up to like do them in front of the bar, in season 2, we did them in front of the bar in the
Mm.
house, and so then they were all at once, and so then you got
Oh, okay. Wow.
yeah. Small someone I can't remember who it was, somebody on I think maybe it was Rachel Ray said, "Small bites or small drinks are your friends." It's true.
Okay. I bet. And was
Yeah.
this a ritual in your everyday life? Do you, when you're not
Yeah.
filming? Because
Yeah. So
it's a
that's
cool way to unwind and just kinda, yeah,
that's
end
how
your
it
day.
started. Flower
Mhm.
Cocktail Hour um, is I go make an I go out in the garden, cut some flowers, make an arrangement. We would sit on the deck and we would have a flower cocktail and we talk about our day. Even though we work from our home and we work in the same office, it was always great for Kelly and I to catch up about what each of us had done that day. And
Uh-huh.
so I think sitting down, making a flower arrangement, relax, unwind.
Mhm.
That's a perfect way to relax, unwind, have a cocktail, and talk about your day. I think that we do spend too much time on screens and we do spend too much time on phones and we don't converse and talk. And that is one of the things. We listen to music. We have favorite music that we play, and there's a different playlist every day because Kelly's a huge music fan, and I love that. And there are also certain times when it'd be like, I feel like Dusty Springfield today, or I feel like Sade today, or, let's listen to jazz organ music.
Mhm.
So every day can have its own theme, and that can be themed with a flower cocktail. I think that it's more ritualistic probably
Okay.
than anything else. So it's kind of getting people into that ritual. And we have had so much talking about it that we do mocktails many times now in later
Oh,
seasons
yeah.
because people wanted zero proof options. And
Yeah.
when we first started this, when we first started the show, I was a much heavier drinker than I am now. I'm not
Okay.
nearly as heavy of a drinker, but I was a heavy drinker when we started the
Okay.
show. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, I do have to say there is something just special about the ritual of, like, making a drink, even if it's not alcoholic. Like, I feel like during the pandemic, my wife and I were, like, drinking, a lot more than we probably should have been just because
Sure.
there's nothing else to do. But there was something about at the end of the day, making a drink, just kinda sitting down like you're saying. So even if it is a mocktail, I feel like the ritual of all of that is just kind of like a special way to end your day. So I love your
Absolutely. The
yeah.
the shaker, the
Yeah.
tinkling of the ice, the
Yes.
fizziness of an additive, even like I don't mind I love sparkling water over ice with a lime in it.
Mhm.
That's enough of a cocktail for me because I'm getting all those things. I'm getting the fizzy, I'm getting the tinkling in the glass, I'm getting the cold beverage. So I mean, I think that I'm the same way. I grind my coffee every morning because I want the ritual of making coffee.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I rituals are a big deal to me, and I
Nice.
I believe that there's a ritual with arranging flowers as well. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I love that. So you also had the first guest, first of many, so Kim Carson. And so I understand Kim has a very special relationship to the show as well.
She does. So I have to tell you a little backstory on Kim. When I moved to Grand Rapids 30 years ago here with Cal, I'd moved from Atlanta. And that was when radio was a big thing. We had a radio in the bathroom that you would tune in to the radio station, and you would have the local DJ on the drive to work that I would listen to every day. And it was Kim Carson.
Oh, cool.
And so that was the first voice I knew when I moved to Grand Rapids. Well, then we met at an opening at a Meyer grocery store where, oh, what was her name? She had a TV show. But anyway, it makes no difference. But anyway, Kim was hosting her. And I came up and I said, I know you. You're the voice I've listened to and we became fast friends. Well, then we always just stayed in touch, and I would drop by the radio station and bring her flowers
Uh,
just on the air because it was fun for me, and I had no ulterior motives. I don't have a flower shop or anything. So I was just like, these are flowers for you. And so when we created this, I asked her to be my first guest. I said, "Will you come be my first guest?" And she said, "Yes." Well, then when we needed voiceover at the beginning of the show, I thought it was a little bit pushy and weird for me to do the voiceover. And so Kim does the voiceover for the show. So she's the Life in Bloom voice.
Oh.
And she is in my book, Fun with Flowers. She's one of my very special flower friends. She in that book, we actually talk about single flower arrangements too in the book, which is very interesting. And then she was heavy, and then she lost a whole bunch of weight, and then she gained her weight back, and then she became skinny again. So she's gone through all these wonderful transitions, and she's an amazing human being, and I loved her. And I said, "Come on." And she made that recipe that she did, and then she also made another recipe for us because we didn't know which one we wanted to use. She made one with Brussels sprouts too.
Oh, okay.
But that was my first show, and in my first show, I said to her, "Mangoes. I always heard that you're supposed to eat mangoes naked." And she was like, "Well, I don't know, blah, blah, blah." That line got that episode pulled
What?
in Utah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
So that episode was not aired with the first season in Utah because I talked about being naked and eating mangoes. So that's interesting. That was interesting to me. So that
Yeah.
was like a learning experience for me. But yeah, so those are my memories. And we garnished it with nasturtiums, and Kim was she's just so wonderful. And I still think about, and I say this when I think about, because I'll make that dish on occasion. I'm making the onion, lemon, tomato. She lists all the ingredients salad when she says the name of the salad, and it's just so cute, but it's delicious. It was really delicious, and it was yummy. And she's a saint, because I always have crazy ideas, and I always invite her to do crazy ideas with me, and she's up for it. So
Oh,
yeah,
she
yeah,
seemed great. She has an
yeah.
amazing voice too. Like after you said that, I went back and listened to like the beginning and I was like, "Oh, wow, she sounds really great."
She is. She's so
Yeah.
awesome, and she's been on the show many times.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
you see her in different iterations throughout the course of the show because
Oh.
she's always on. So yeah, 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 yeah.
And so she also received the first flower crown of any
So
guest.
yeah, so that was our thing, and we wanted to do flower crowns. And flower crowns are an interesting thing. We have our 100th episode coming up in season 8, and we are going to have a segment called 100 Flower Crowns, because there's a flower crown in almost every show, and sometimes there's more than one.
Oh,
And I just decided it was something I wanted to do. And it was something that was just like a signature thing for the show. It really is amazing. Whenever you put a flower crown on somebody's head, they smile and they laugh. And I always felt like they should be big. I mean, I've seen flower crowns that are little and diminutive, and like you
mhm.
got married, your married
Yes.
picture, the
Yeah.
little pretty little ones that you put on the girls and that your wife
Yes.
wore one. They're not capital CJ, see flower crowns, but I like a flower crown,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yours
so,
are big.
yeah, they are big. And so, we felt it was important to teach people how to make them.
Mhm.
But then also to show them in use so that people would be like, well, that's something fun that I could do. And I had a lady one time who wrote into me. I gave her one at a show I was at or something. And she said, you know, I loved my flower crown so much. Here's a picture of me doing the dishes in it. Here's a
Uh-huh.
picture of me walking the dog in it. Here's a picture of me mowing the lawn on her riding lawnmower with her flower crown. And I was
Uh-huh.
like, that's exactly right. That's what we should do. We should wear flowers. It shouldn't be something fearful for us. It
No.
was something that the Greeks did. They would wear flower crowns in celebratory situations. And I always ask people if they want them or not.
Okay.
And I got an email one time from a lady who said, "I hate your flower crowns, that I hate that you bully people into wearing them."
What?
And I was like,
Are you kidding?
"Oh my God, I don't." And I said, "I'm so I don't. I really, really don't. I was bullied too much in school to be a bully. But I don't I just felt like it. I always want to ask them, and I always want to know what their favorite flower is then. Because if I can incorporate their favorite flower, then I think that that's a really special way to do it too. And
Oh,
in this show and a couple others, there's two, because there was one for me and one for Kim. I decided that's too hard.
okay.
And I really liked the guest being crowned with a flower crown and not me horning in on it.
Okay. That makes
And
sense.
so later on, I didn't do that anymore because I was
Okay.
just like, no, it needs to be a very special thing. And they get to go home with it. They get to take it home.
Mhm.
I've had guests who have dried them and turned them into wreaths for their walls.
Oh.
So yeah, other events that I go to, I always make a flower crown. And
Oh.
the audience, it's really funny. When I'm making the flower crown, I will look out into the audience and the flowers will tell me who is supposed to get that flower crown. I know that sounds weird and crazy and like I'm trying to be the Long Island medium or not something, but I'm not. It's just I will all of a sudden see someone and there's like a brighter aura around them and I know that's where it goes.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's what happens with it. So yeah,
Uh,
that's how those things work. Yeah.
I have a quick flower crown story that I want to tell you, Jay.
Okay.
My family is Swedish, and so my grandma was born in Sweden. And when I was young, I was like 12 years old. My whole family went to Sweden to go see my grandma's like extended family where she grew up. And in Sweden, they do like the midsummer celebration
Midsummer
there. Yes, yes.
celebration.
And so in Sweden, there's a lot of people have these little flower cottages, and so it's like almost like a second home that they have a garden around, but the home is like not really somewhere where you even stay. It's just this little kind of structure, and you have, maybe like an acre of land that so many people have in Sweden. And so they go there and grow their flowers in preparation of midsummer. And so when I was 12 years old, I was there with my cousins and extended family and everyone, and we all had our own flower crowns and danced around the maypole. And so that's been a part of like my family's, like, I don't know, my grandma's always been big on the flower crown. And so when I got married this past couple weeks ago, the flower crown was a very important part of like our Swedish side. And so
Absolutely.
yeah, yeah. So Amanda got a flower crown, and then my two nieces got flower crowns as well, which I sent you pictures of. But
Absolutely.
so I've, this from the moment I saw you do the flower crowns, I was drawn to it and was like, this is so cool. So I just wanted to say thanks for keeping the flower crown going, because I was like, from the first time I saw it, I was like, this is such a cool tradition to have in all of your episodes. So
Well,
yeah.
let me tell you, we have not talked about this.
Mhm.
My grandmother, Lily Olson, was Swedish.
Oh, really? Okay.
I had no idea about Midsummer
Oh.
celebration and the
Mhm.
Midsummer Festival. Last 2 years ago, my niece Grace, who's been on the show, works for a company in Sweden, but she's works in the US for them. She does 3D teaching. She's amazing. And we went there and I learned about the Midsummer Festival. And so we are future planning to go to Sweden with Life in Bloom to do the Midsummer Festival
Yes.
because we must. We
Yes. Oh my
must. That
gosh,
is
Jay.
so important. I mean,
Oh,
and
that's
just,
incredible.
but interesting that you and I have Swedish grandmothers. I think that
Yes.
that's a very,
Yeah.
very, that's a telltale
Yes.
thing. I was born on
Yes,
my
yes.
grandmother's birthday as well.
Oh, okay.
So there's that. So I was her favorite grandchild, of course.
Oh.
But I think it's interesting. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, I
Oh,
think
that's incredible.
and
Yeah.
wasn't there was a movie,
There
a
was, but it was a
horror
horror
movie.
movie.
Right. My guys
Yes.
love it because my guys that do my show too also make horror movies and they
Oh,
loved it.
okay.
I haven't had the courage to watch it because I don't want to
It's
wreck flower
creepy.
crowns for me. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
don't
yeah. Yeah.
you'll never look at flower crowns the same way, so don't
Okay,
watch
got
it.
it. Got it. Got it.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
All right. Perfect. Perfect.
Well, so just one more thing before we
Sure.
close it out. So the sorority sisters in the episode, that was such
Oh,
a cute segment, and I just wanted to know, how did you get hooked up with them?
Kelly's mother, Mary Lou, was a member of the longest standing sorority, Beta Sigma Phi sorority in the United States. Longest
Oh.
standing. Okay. Not the eldest, although that is true as well. They always said, we are the longest standing. We're not the oldest, but they were. Mary Lou and I just hit it off. She was an amazing mother-in-law, and I miss her and I love her, and she was wonderful. And she said one time, she said their sorority sisters were all very close knit, and all of these ladies, they all had husbands, and most of their husbands all died first, and so they were a very big support group for each other. And
Oh.
they had been sorority sisters for 47, 57 years, something crazy like that, right? I mean, they'd been together forever and knew everyone's life. And so she said, would you come to our sorority and would you make flowers for us and tell stories? And I was like, of course. And so then what happened from that was that I got tired of going and just making arrangements willy-nilly because I just was boring myself. And I said, I want you guys, each one of you ladies, to bring a container that means something to you. And you can tell me the story about your container and where it's from and your memories of it as I fill it with flowers.
Oh.
And so it forced them to get their memories off their shelf and allowed me to fill them with flowers and make it more special. And so we just used that footage. There's that whole sorority meeting is on my website, youbloom.com. It's a Behind the Bloom thing where we did with the Jay Makes Flowers for the Sorority Sisters. And they're all in there and they tell their stories. And I had them sit down and tell about their containers and we filmed it. It's just really special. There's 5 of them left. Kelly's mom is gone, but Lorraine and Karen and Margie and Lee. Oh, now see, I'm going to be in trouble. Judy, those are them. And they still have the offer to this day. I said, when there's one of them left, I will still come make flowers because why would you not? I understood that last year they turned in their declaration or whatever, and because a couple of them are in a nursing home, but they said, we're done with sorority. It's not in our thing anymore. But I'm just so glad that I had that opportunity, and I am fascinated by older people. I am the guy who will sit down next to the old man or old woman in a bar and ask them their story because I want to know. I want to know everything, every single thing. So yeah, so I love that, and I love that they were in there, and it was cute. The lady that got the lei was Kelly's lunch lady.
Oh.
At his grade school, Mrs. McCallum, and so I had a lei for her, and and I was and jewelry for her because she's a big jewelry person, and I just got to know them all really well. So yeah, the sorority sisters.
Oh, what a wonderful way to wrap up the first episode too.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. There was a lot in there.
Yeah, and from starting with what is a life in bloom to ending with that, it all kind of comes full circle with how important flowers are to everyone at all points of their life. So I love the way that you wrapped it all up.
Absolutely. Well, thanks, RJ. It was fun to. I like you being able to drag the memories out of me. I think it's fun. I think it's really fun. So yeah, I hope everyone enjoys it. Thanks for joining us this week on Behind the Bloom podcast with Jay Schwanke and RJ Pohl. If you loved what you heard, be sure to follow or subscribe so you never miss an episode. And share it with a friend to help us spread the joy, one bloom at a time. Thank you for taking the time to slow down with us. And hopefully you left feeling a little lighter and inspired to try something new. Make sure to join us next week for a brand new episode. Thanks for being here with us, Behind the Bloom. Hey, just one more thing. If you love flowers, you've got to check out youbloom.com. It's the online home of Jay Schwanke's Life in Bloom, where you can stream every episode for free. Plus, you'll find Behind the Bloom videos, my blog, show recipes, and so much more. There's also a massive video archive, over 1,800 how-to videos, flower farm documentaries, and even my very first series, JTV. All Life in Bloom episodes, exclusive web content, and farm documentaries are totally free. Just sign up with your email. And if you're ready to dive deeper, there's a paid subscription option that unlocks the full library of how-to videos. Everything from creating bridal bouquets to centerpieces, corsages, and more. Tons of content to explore. You're going to love it.